What I'm going to cover right now is the importance of a multi-directional first piece of gear on trad climbing. Hello, this is Simeon at Southern Exposure Climbing School and Guide Service in El Cuco de Espinosa in Mexico. Anybody who's gone trad climbing has heard of the zipper. What the zipper is that if the leader falls, that the pressure put down here at the bottom on the rope from the belayer will actually pull up on your gear and zipper it, where the gear down here pops out, your next piece pulls up and pops out, and they will just keep going up the line, and it will actually create a zipper to where they pull out, pull out, pull out. As your leader is coming down, his gear is actually leaving down here. Not what you want to have happen. Not a good time. And for anybody that tells you that zippering of gear doesn't happen, well, they haven't been trad climbing long enough, because it happens very frequently if people don't pay attention to their first piece of gear. To take this whole problem out of the system, multi-directional first piece of gear. So let's do this right now. It's really important that when you're trad climbing, that your first piece of gear, whether you leave an anchor or whether you're down on the ground, is that it's multi-directional. You want to make sure that your first piece on any route is as strong as anything else that you're going to place that day. It's extremely important. So what I'm going to do is I am going to build right here a multi-directional first piece right down here by the ground and give you an example of why it works. One piece of gear set nicely. And as you can see, I've taken two nuts and put them into opposing directions. One nut on the bottom with a directional pull going up, and then your first piece of gear that would be protecting climber facing down. Now, would it necessarily be this close to the ground? No, it wouldn't. Maybe it'd be a little bit higher to protect the climber from hitting the ground, but as an example, I want to show you how this multi-directional piece goes. Then we're going to take our runner, put it through one, put it through the other. I like to flip that beater over so that it can't open up, and here's our multi-directional first piece. So if a climber fell from up above, and this was their first piece of gear and it was higher, it would keep them from hitting the ground. And if the climber fell up above and all of a sudden they fall from up above and the rope down on the ground pulls tight, because when they fall, all this is going to get pulled out, and there's a great example of what's going to happen right there. This piece, if it wasn't clipped in, if it was just a single instead of a multi-directional, with a downward fall, we're coming down here. That baby's not going anywhere. With an upward fall, what would happen is that when you fall from up above, you can see that nut already moved. That nut actually physically moved in that crack, because this rope is going to come out as the climber comes down. Of course, there are going to be more pieces in the line, but what happens is that everything tightens up in the system. The first piece of gear pops, and it will actually create a zipper. Let me take that baby, put him back in here. Flip it back in the system, and there's our multi-directional first piece of gear. Critical in trad climbing. If you're a trad climber, you're going to be going out there, and you're going to be placing gear, whether this be a cam up top or what have you, you definitely want to have something down below keeping that cam from turning and spinning over and popping out as well. And then once this gear pops out, then the next one's going to take the pressure, and that one will start to turn around, and maybe that one's going to pop out. You never can tell. To take this whole problem out of the system, multi-directional first piece of gear. We can also build this with cams if you wanted to. I like to show it with nuts because everybody should be practicing their nut work all the time. All right, so talk about multi-directional pieces using cams. Cams, nuts, whatever you're going for, when you're getting off the ground, your first piece of gear, multi-directional. That way if you fall off, you understand that as you're coming down, the rope is tightening up in your belayer. If there's any angle coming away from the cliff, put directly underneath. This is the only place where it won't put pressure on that gear pulling out is if you're standing directly underneath it, and very rarely are belayers standing here. Belayers always stand a little bit farther out because they want to see their climber. So let's go into this multi-directional first piece. Right here. Right here. Right. Camelot. Facing down, of course. We all know through rock climbing that any gear that you're going to place in the wall, you do not want it facing out with the thumb. You want everything in the direction of fall. Gravity is going to take you in this direction. This is where you want to put the piece of gear. Then your multi-directional piece, opposite direction, because that's the one that's going to keep you from pulling out your gear. And the same situation applies. Go through the runner, go through the second runner. Here's the climber clipped in. And again, if that all of a sudden your climber was up high and they fell and it pulled out from the bottom, there's a great example of how it keeps everything nice and straight. That multi-directional first piece is critical, as you can see, because this is where the angle is going to be coming from your belayer. If your belayer is standing here and you fall off, it's going to pull all of your gear out. If you've ever seen anybody fall off of a climb, you see that rope tighten up. It puts a lot of pressure on that first piece. You do not want that first piece of gear pulling out of the wall. Because if that one blows out, then it's going to go right up the line and put the same exact amount of pressure that you put here, it's going to put up on your next piece, depending on how far away it is. And it's going to pull that piece out. And if that piece blows, there you have the zipper. You do not want to be zippering gear, because when that climber's falling downward, they're going to have enough going on in their head about where they're going with their air travel. You don't want to have that zipper happening. This is the easiest way to take it right out of the system. Multi-directional first piece with cams, multi-directional first piece with nuts. However you want to do it, just make sure you put it in there. So thanks so much for watching the video. If you like this video, please like the video, share the video, or put any comments as far as whether or not you would like to see another video that we can do here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you the next time.
Con una pasión tan fuerte.